nothing like that. All right. We've got planners over here now. Yeah.
Reconfiguration.
Yeah, I'm not used to that. No, I'll be all right. I'm out of my comfort zone, but I'll survive. Let's call the Plan Commission to order. It is 6:01, and I'll ask staff to take a roll call.
Sure. Mayor Devine.
Here.
Wayne Clark. Wait, yep, I see it. Brian Brown. Here. Lisa Coons.
Here.
Eric Torkelson. Here. Kathleen Dagenhart.
Here.
David Rashka.
Here.
And Brendan Rankin.
Here.
Thank you. We've got a quorum.
All right, we'll move. Thank you. We'll move to item C, approval of the minutes for our May 22nd, May 29th meeting.
So moved. Second.
Second.
I'll let staff figure that out, who gets those. We have a motion, we have a second. If there are no corrections or changes, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, the minutes are approved. We'll move on to item D, and we will start with number 2. I'll turn it over to staff.
Thank you, Mayor. Quad Graphics, or Quad, as they like to be known, is interested in establishing a new, I'm sorry, are we doing, we want to do the, we'll do the supplemental first?
Oh, sure. Sorry.
Okay. This is a proposed certified survey map that was submitted by Antigua Latin Cafe at 62nd and National Avenue. The land sale went before Planning Commission for consideration of consistency with the comp plan back in March, and it was approved in April. Council approved the land sale. Now what's left is to sort of follow up on some of the conditions of the Planning Commission Council approval to get the certified survey map presented, submitted, approved by the Planning Commission, and then ultimately Common Council in July. The idea here is to take that small little 670 square foot, it's basically a landscape island in a city parking lot, and sell it to Antigua, which is that blue outlined area at 62nd and National, and then attach it via CSM, and then the deed can be, recorded, and the land sale can be conveyed to the owner. But basically splitting off that small little chunk of city-owned land, selling it to Antigua, who will combine it with their property for an outdoor patio area for their patrons. So that all fits with our comp plan and our future vision for the National Avenue corridor, and we are recommending approval, subject to any technical corrections.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right. Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have
Oh,
it,
I'm so
motion
sorry.
carries.
I gotta have your phones.
And then, now we'll move to item 2.
All right. Quad is proposing a parking lot behind their building. The rough location of that site is dashed, the project area, about 143 parking stalls. And then I believe is Dan, hi Dan, how are you, Daniel? He's here with, on behalf of the Grafe Engineering, who's designed this parking lot, and he's here on behalf of Quad as well. So the overall Quad site is about 48 acres in size. The parking lot area will be 143 parking stalls, about 60 or so thousand square feet of land area for this the new parking area. The reason for the parking lot is the expansion of employment at this location. There's some other facilities that Quad owns throughout the Wisconsin area and so on that are being consolidated, and that's expecting more employment, or there is more employment now here at this Quad location in West Dallas. There's good news for West Dallas, that they need more parking. So this parking lot will hopefully accommodate some of that additional employment at this location. The schedule for completion, it's a quick one. They're going to start this summer with the approval of this, going through the due diligence, getting permits, and then be complete in September. So it's pretty quick. The next slide shows just sort of a bird's eye view, and then that if we're looking at the screen there in the very sort of lower left, that newer addition to Quad that was put on sometime in like 2006. Behind that, there's a grassy area, and that grassy area is going to be the area, the general location of where this parking lot's going to go. So it is behind the building on the northwest part of the site. Everything to the west, to the north is light industrial, or the Colders Appliance is a commercial site, and then north of that is the I-94. Highway 100 is off to your right. The next slide shows the new parking lot configuration. The aisles will be sort of north to south, and then there's another row at the very top, perpendicular, that there will be landscape islands along that southernmost of the lower part, which will be new and added with trees. The next slide shows, I think, the stormwater layout, and there will be a retention system put in on the very north end of the northeast side of the new parking lot area, and that will help take on some of the runoff stormwater from the new surface area and hold it, and then when it can then sort of more slowly be released to the watershed. There are other catch basins proposed, and there's a large sort of main sewer system that runs north to south currently within the area. That's all in place, and these are sort of the new systems that will be added, environmental systems to help maintain not only the level of water runoff, new water runoff, just preventing it from running back down to Lake Michigan quickly, but keeping in this watershed a little bit longer. And then also the water quality initiatives we established too. Next slide shows the landscaping layout. The landscaping, again, is they are proposing some new landscaping along the sort of northern and eastern portions of that site, as well as within new landscaping islands in the south end caps of those parking rows. There's about a total of 10 new shade trees, and then 3 new evergreen trees within this landscaping area. And then there's a series of shrubs and other perennial bushes that will be added within those landscape areas. So they are, even though it is behind the building and more or less out of sight for most of the public, it's still important to sort of frame that end caps of some of the parking rows and do some perimeter landscaping. People come to work here, you want first impression when you come to park, make it look good, but it is also part of our design guidelines that to give consideration for landscaping in those pervious areas within the plan. So we are recommending approval subject to the conditions in the staff report. And really, item 1 has more or less been satisfied. We were asking for a confirmation of the number of accessible parking spaces. And Daniel, just correct me if I'm wrong, I think with the total number of new parking spaces, there's gonna be, what, 26 or so? I think the total count of parking overall on the overall 48-acre site is somewhere around 750 stalls. And then with the new parking, 26 ADA stalls are gonna be out there and present and distributed throughout the overall property to meet ADA requirements. So we feel that 1A is satisfied. And then Part B, our city forester still needs to review the overall landscape plan for the parking lot, but that's sort of a minor thing, but we'll get that taken care of and work with Daniel on that if there are any changes. The other conditions are largely just standards from our typical plan commission items, but the compliance with the stormwater management ordinance, which is being done, that's being reviewed by our stormwater consultant. And then a lighting plan will be reviewed by our department with their submittal. Aside from that, are there any questions or comments? We are recommending approval.
Questions from the commission?
Move approval.
Second.
Okay,
Finally got it in.
you're quick. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you. And then we will move on to items 3A and 3B.
So I'm excited to present to you all a very interesting adaptive reuse of a site that's previously gone underutilized over the past few years. We're looking at Precision Auto Body, MKE, a proposed light motor vehicle service at 1649 South 83rd Street. We're looking at a conditional use permit and a site landscape and architecture review. So here's just a brief overview of the site. The existing business is none. The building has been vacant for some time now, but previously it was at one point occupied by Al's Roofing and was utilized as cold storage. The zoning of this site is I1, And we're looking at an adaptive reuse of the building for a proposed business that's going to be auto body oriented. Currently, the site right now has buildings that take up around 14,000 square feet of space. We're looking to knock that down with the proposed demolition of some collapsed area of the building and knocking that down to 11,000 square feet of space. So light motor vehicle use is a conditional use in the I-1 district. However, the criteria of no adjacent lots being zoned as residential have been met by the applicants. And then we'll look to the proposed interior of the building. So overall, we're looking at 6 employees occupying this space, and primarily vehicles are going to enter and exit through the South 83rd Street via 2 existing overhead doors. In terms of existing rooms, there are two unisex restrooms, an office, and then a storage room indicated on the site plans, and the following proposed hours with tow services by appointment. Proposed uses within this building include service estimation, 2 mechanical car lifts, vehicle storage for maintenance, a total of 9 spots actually within the building proposed, frame and bodywork areas, as well as a spray booth in the upper left-hand corner of the building. In terms of parking, interior is going to accommodate up to 9 vehicles, and exterior we're looking at 5 new surface stalls on the site. And as I stated previously, we're looking to demolish in the southwestern corner of the building to accommodate those new surface parking stalls. And that corner of the building looks like this presently. It's going to completely expose a new concrete slab, which is going to be a great and ample opportunity for parking on this site. In terms of the landscaping plan, you folks may notice things are a little bit up in the air with our report on this property, but since then, our applicants have gotten us a lot of great new detailed information that we're looking to incorporate in our presentation today. So, to the south, we're looking at new chain link fencing and the removal of overgrowth in this region, as well as repaving of this surface. Another image of the south just showing you the current conditions of the surface as well as the fencing. Going back for a second, we did reach out to the neighbors adjacent to this property about fixing their fence. That's in the works right now. I know that inspectors have cited them and tried to reach out to them to encourage them to do something about their fencing, but that was about a week ago. So that's still pending some action there. But regardless, the applicants proposed putting up a chain link fence regardless around this area, around their proposed lot. Moving now to the western side of the building, and Steve took this picture from a cafe. So this is a really fairly public space. You can see it from other businesses on the site. You can see it to some degree from the road as well. So it's really important, we found, to screen this use appropriately from the surrounding businesses and uses. So here we're looking at new 6-foot-high cedar fencing, arbor vitae planting, and increased screening overall in this area, just to make sure that the activities of the site do not impede on the public sphere. And lastly, the view to the east. This is right across from the floral shop. I think it's Locker's Floral Shop across the street, though I'm not the most familiar. Here we're encouraging the applicants to put in planters facing the South 83rd Street, as well as indicating signs indicating plans for proposed signage installation here. Oh, and as a note, this is how vehicles are going to be entering and exiting the site through those 2 overhead doors. In terms of the architecture plan, we have 2 proposed architectural elevations submitted by the applicants to the south and to the west. The eastern and northern architecture plans are going to remain unchanged from the past. So to the south, we're looking at new metal siding to replace the siding that's in poor condition, and just to maintain that painted masonry block siding in good condition. To the west, we're looking at a metal entry door to be replaced, some new metal siding to match the old stuff that's in good condition, and painted masonry block as well to remain on the building. Of note, I just wanted to point out that on these architectural drawings, there is a proposed change to the roof line from a slope to a pitched roof line, or to a flat roof line. And lastly, we recommend you folks approve this conditional use permit and site landscape and architecture design review based on the following qualities, which are slightly amended from what we were able to give you folks about last week. So here we are asking that the applicant show drainage and grading details on the site. They've kind of indicated on the site plans where they're proposing to repave, and it's most of the spaces, barring the locations along the eastern side of the building. And those were delineated on their site plan. Additionally, we'd love for them to show their proposed refuse containers as well as their four-sided enclosures, just to ensure that screening is occurring appropriately on the site. And lastly, we would really like some plans indicating property maintenance because it has gone vacant for so long. So what's the plan for cleaning up any loose debris or any weeds on the site and just getting that up to compliance? And lastly, we would like our applicants to show some indication of planters facing that South 83rd Street just because it's a visible public right-of-way and it's across from several other businesses on that street. Lastly, we do ask that for the proposed signage and lighting plans to be submitted for review and compliance subject to permitting. And at this time, I'm open to accepting any comments or questions.
Thank you. Questions from the commission?
Yeah, so is the applicant in agreement with these recommendations that are all laid out in
So,
item 1 here?
So I know that our applicant has touched upon submitting a drainage and grading plan. They were able to fulfill the repaving section. They were able to fulfill the landscaping requirements that we asked, barring the indication of planters on 83rd Street. They're totally okay with the weeding and debris removal, and there's already a refuse container on site indicating that they are going to be engaging in that. But yeah, we are still waiting for a few plans, primarily that drainage and grading, signage, and lighting plans, as well as the planter plan. That's kind of where we're at.
Go ahead, Brian.
Sorry. Still going to be spray painting cars and all that stuff, right?
Yes, they do have a spray booth indicated on the site plans.
Okay,
Correct.
so and then where does that go?
I can show you. No, that's okay. I may not have highlighted it. It's kind of on this first slide here. The spray booth is in the upper left-hand corner. So you can kind of see.
So is there like venting out?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So-
it's apparently handled within the spray booth, and then it's filtered before it exits the building.
Okay.
That's my understanding, so.
All right.
Yeah. And I believe the applicant has submitted appropriate HVAC plans and all that jazz.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I move to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you. We'll move on to item 4.
Thanks, Mayor. John Fuchs is here representing the applicant, and I know we have, also in the audience, we have Alderman Grisham. Thanks for coming tonight. So with this proposal, the building, the aerial view you see here in that prior slide is pre-demolition. So there's a commercial building at 9422. There was a commercial building at 9422 that's since been demolished. Back in February, if you recall, this was before the Planning Commission, before the demolition plan, and a glimpse at the future parking plan. Planning Commission recommended approval of the site plan to demolish the building, and then a plan to move forward with a new parking lot in its place. There is a certified survey map that was a condition of approval, and that's been approved by the Common Council. So ultimately, we're going to record that, and then the two properties are combined into one. The building is now gone, and then the next slide shows the site plan that was approved in February, more or less. And what we have here is a right turn in, right turn out off of National Avenue. National Avenue being in the lower angled area, and then cars entering and exiting National Avenue and into more or less a 90-degree parking configuration. And then there was a retaining wall that was proposed on the very north end. I think, Emily, if you click the next click there, there's and then once again, there's a retaining wall that was going to be added somewhere offset. It was initially going to be put right on that north property line, and then after some discussions with the contractor at the time, that was actually going to be offset a little bit with some landscaping, further north. So the total number of stalls here more or less went from about 23 stalls to about 18 or 19 parking stalls in a 90-degree pattern configuration, which allows in and out on National Avenue. There's also important to note that there's cross-access proposed on this plan. So between the two sites where the remaining building is and the new parking lot, there is cross-access in that northern part, just near that retaining wall. So you can also come in off of 95th Street, or you can exit on 95th Street to the left out towards National Avenue, and then come across to the new parking lot and in or out on National Avenue there. So, but aside from that, that's sort of the base plan. And then in early June, met on the site with the contractor and Mr. Fuchs here, Attorney Fuchs, just to talk about, with our engineering team and code enforcement team, to talk about a revised plan. And that's on the next slide. The refuse enclosure is being relocated. So the next slide showed an angled parking configuration. So again, sort of that same idea of cross-access between the upper and the lower new parking lot area. The retaining wall, the big difference here is that the retaining wall was no longer going to be on that north property line. Instead, they're going to add a bunch of fill to the site, was the plan, and then it would go from the street grade of National Avenue up to the north, and then more or less blend in with the existing parking lot on the west side of the site, as well as the existing grade on the north end of the site. And then that more or less 4 or 5 feet of grade would be retained on the east side of the site where that blue line is. And the landscaping would change around a little bit. You'd still have that decorative fence along National Avenue. And then the parking flow being angled directional, you'd no longer be able to come in off of National Avenue. It'd be right turn exit only on National. So the changes here with that, while understood and welcome, are concerning in the sense that, with the lack of a right turn in off of National Avenue, we want to continue to promote that right turn in and then right turn out on National Avenue. The angled parking configuration, while it works, it could pose additional problems to the neighborhood to the north, basically forcing people to go around the block and then enter in on 95th Street through the neighborhood into the site. In the future, there's going to be a median. I should mention that the engineering department is proposing a median. The DOT is actually going to be installing a median in National Avenue, and that median is going to extend across 95th Street, which is on the left side, that north-south street on the left. It's going to go across National Avenue and then end more or less somewhere probably beyond the driveway that's here on that new parking lot site. That's going to prevent any left turns in off of National Avenue, prevent left turns in to 95th, prevent left turns into the new parking lot. So with that, we want to allow for in and out traffic on National Avenue and 90-degree parking stall configuration to mitigate, the impact of that new median that's going to get installed probably in 2026. This is just a detail of the retaining wall on the east side. The National Avenue end of it is on the left, at the lowest point, and then it ramps up to a taller retaining wall on the far right. And just the detail of the retaining wall, the drainage, and how it's constructed, and then a new fence. I went from more of a brick wall to a brick pier column configuration with ornamental fencing in between along National Avenue. And then on the east side of the building, the proposed, the old commercial building's gone, and then the post-demolition look on the right, repairing the wall is going to be the criteria. It's part of the recommendation from February, but we're asking for some brick samples to sort of best match or complement the existing brick on that east side of the building. more or less shore up that east side so it looks complete. So I guess the points before Plan Commission this evening are, this is the revised plan that was submitted. It's a good plan. I mean, it's not, it would work. However, I think the concern being with a new median going in at National Avenue and preventing left turn access onto 95th Street and into this parking lot, I think it's going to be very important to maintain a 90-degree parking configuration for this new parking area, as well as in and out on National Avenue. So with that, I guess our recommendation is on the final slide here. And we've basically just taken our, updated the recommendation that's in your staff report with the orange text here. But that basically is traffic pattern to be right in and right out on National Avenue, change the stall configuration to 90 degrees. And then the other part would be that a grading and drainage plan being provided for the overall site. Now, they provided a grading and drainage plan for the new parking lot area, but I think with that, the elevation difference between the upper and lower parts, I think it's important to maybe show some of the grading on the existing site to the west as well, and how that's all going to blend together with the new grades proposed. So I'll stop talking, but I know Attorney Fuchs is here too. He may have some other additional clarifications if there's some things going on. Yeah.
Very brief clarification. Your suggestions are good, especially the in and out, right in, right out. In fact, I don't think it could be done any other way, or the way that it was initially drawn up, or what they were asking for, particularly once that median goes in, it wouldn't work. So frankly, if you want to see an attorney be very brief, this is all okay.
Ooh, okay.
You get paid by the hour, right?
Let me reciprocate the courtesies of your staff and their help by saying the question of payment. I want to take the opportunity to let this commission know, because I'm not patronizing your staff when I say that the city has been nothing but helpful and patient. But in the interim, my clients have recently had to part company with a general contractor, and my Thursday and Friday will be involved in trying to find a replacement and trying to find the money to do this the way it's proposed, because if you're wondering if this is taking longer than it should, I'll also agree with that. But the beauty of being a semi-retired attorney is I've got only about 3 other files to work on. So I'll do everything but serve as the general contractor myself. Oh, and put in the money.
Any questions from the commission?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. Alderwoman Grisham?
Thank you all. Alderwoman Grisham here. I met Steve and Melinda, our city engineer, on site this week. Behind me are the residents to the north, the Wishmans, and this was brought to my attention early on in the year. So we've been working together on concerns and what the plans were for the site itself. One of the things that I was told, now keeping in mind you saw the plans, the upper parking lot that's in the rear of Heartbreakers currently has probably about 5-foot difference in height grading. I had a very difficult time myself understanding visually how this is going to look with a fill, because originally it was supposed to be a retaining wall to retain the Wishman's property, that their garage doesn't fall into the parking lot. So right now, I think they've been included in some of the conversations, but they're not quite satisfied or understanding how that fill is going to take place, how it's still going to support their property, how is this grade going to work in from the upper to the lower. That's one point. Secondly, we were told, or it was mentioned to me that there was a question of making it 2 lots. I know that's not what we're doing. However, the reason that was brought up is because supposedly there was power lines that are under that area. When we were on site, city engineer said, I'm not understanding how power lines or any underground work would be here. And I asked at that time, well, did anybody produce any documentation to prove that that was there? It was said by contractors, said by owner possibly. Well, short of the story is Melinda did contact Lee Energies. There are no high voltage power lines under that area. So on determination, Melinda's recommendation was we can have that continuity for that one parking lot. The concerns that I would like to bring forward is, I don't know if I addressed the concern with the power line. Is that what you were speaking of?
Only, you know,
Okay.
the nickel,
And just,
Peters hotline.
yeah, that'll be taken care of, but the Wishmans need just a little bit more reassurance that if there are any problems, where do they stand on this? And obviously, they're concerned. So if there's a problem with their property, retaining or otherwise, where does that fall back? Is that going to be a civil matter then, and we just wash our hands as a city? So we need to be very aware of that. And lastly, the traffic pattern was always of concern. So if you could possibly just go over what that right turn in, right turn out looks like, and I'm assuming that's National Avenue we're talking about, and you're not saying right turn out on 95th Street.
Right, yeah, on 95th Street, it's left turn only right now, and that sign is not going anywhere as far as I know, so.
Right, and that traffic pattern that's going to change for National Avenue, I just bring up, is not just going to be a median, it's going to be a no left turn onto 95th Street. So some of this traffic will have to circumvent through the neighborhood already. We just want to make sure that it's not a huge volume. And that it's safe to get out on National too, because that's the bottlenecked area.
Yep.
Mayor, if I could, one comment the Alderwoman
Go ahead.
really is entitled to a response to, because we're going to go with that traffic problem. But I think she correctly identified that if that fails and the Wishmans lose part of their property, it's a civil matter, but it's a losing civil matter for my clients. They would be responsible. And I have no qualms about stating that at this meeting and publicly and in front of this commission and the mayor. It would be on my clients, and they know that, and that's one of the reasons I need to find a contractor and get this finished. It looks like a war zone.
It does, and it's been a long time. And I thank you for that, and maybe you and Wishmans can discuss this afterwards.
I'm afraid they'll hit me.
Well, I doubt it. But my concern mostly was initially with that power line, saying the power line was there, and then finding out there was not truth to that. That's not a power line. It's it's a low voltage, if no voltage, yard light.
We got the same confirmation today.
Okay.
We've got that.
But I think that's why this was coming back initially. Am I correct, Steve?
It was.
Partly?
It was actually, part of it, that the contractor at the time was telling us that there's a major power line there, and they wanted to change the configuration to this angle. I'm not 100% sure why, maybe to get a few more parking stalls out of it, but it's really kind of a balance either way. I think the main thing, one of the main concerns was to add the fill, to blend into the Wishman's property, as well as that higher elevated west parking area. By adding that fill, it solved that retaining wall issue on the north, because the new earth that would be added will be the retaining method to hold the Wishman's property up and to blend in with the existing parking lot on the west. But yeah, the power line was thrown out there as a comment, as maybe somewhat of an obstacle for doing cross-access, but yeah, that's not the case.
Okay, and just one more point, if I may. I thank you all for taking time to let me speak. The trash receptacle, I believe that was initially proposed to go to the other side, but it was voted to stay where it's at. So I just want to confirm that that is where garbage is being picked up, and that will be coming off of 95th, not National Avenue.
Right, yeah, the garbage will be stored in that yellow, where it's shown on this plan is behind the building, the Heartbreakers building itself, away from the neighbors, the Wishmans. Originally it was in that green landscape area up in the very northwest corner of the site, upper left, and that's been moved down to right behind the building itself. So that's satisfied. I know one of the Wishmans' concerns not to have that garbage along their property line.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That is all.
Okay.
You have a motion?
We have a motion and a second.
That's right, we do. Yep.
Brian, was
you
it
gonna be
Brian first
abstaining?
and
Yes,
Okay.
who was it my second? Yeah,
yes,
Dave did?
you have me marked as
Yeah,
abstaining.
it wasn't.
Who was the second? You made the motion, I believe?
I was at the motion.
Oh, okay, okay, thank you, Captain.
Okay,
David, okay.
all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And one abstention? Motion carries, thank you.
Thank you, and I forgot to mention that your staff is also very demanding.
That's good. We'll move on to item 5. Survey map, turn it over to staff.
Thank you, Mayor. This is for a certified survey map of 2580 South Root River Parkway on the city's west side. It's for a division of one existing parcel into 2 parcels. Lot 1 contains a home right now. This is proposed by the owner of the property. He'd like to divide the property to include, he'd like to sell off the house on Lot 1 and then build on Lot 2. One consideration is that there are floodplains on the property, but it appears that any development will be located outside of the floodplain. And looking at the zoning for the property, any future property needs to meet the setbacks for the RI1 district, which staff looked at the property and the lot lines, and it is possible if they'd like to do that. With that being said, staff has a recommended motion for approval, subject to just the Common Council approval of the certified survey map and then the submittal and recording of that certified survey map. Thank
Move
you.
approval.
Second.
There's a motion, a second, any discussion? Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, thank you. Move on to item 6, project tracking updates.
Thank you. We have some exciting projects now open in West Dallas. Ethiopian Coffee, long awaited. That opened in early June. Check it out if you haven't already. That's one of the African desserts shown, and then a latte. I don't know if they have their full service Ethiopian special coffee yet, but it is pretty good. Eye care specialists, they are applied for occupancy. They're still under construction. Caribou had their grand opening yesterday. They looks like a great spot so far. And then 6400 West Greenfield Apartments and Land by Label both had development agreements approved by Community Development Authority last week.
Questions?
No?
All right.
Mayor, I just want to also, while we're in the meeting here, just welcome Troop 53 in the back. Eli Mueller. You guys want to introduce yourselves? Say hi.
Welcome to Troop 53. We're working on our communications badge. We're gonna tune on meeting and write down notes and stuff.
Oh, great.
So,
Do you guys have any questions?
I don't think so.
No. I know a guy who could help you if you have questions. Cool, welcome. Thanks.
Thanks for coming tonight.
If there's nothing else, then I guess we just need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
you.
Thanks, everybody.